Chill here with Sirius Talisman. This is Soul Hour, Soul Day, and the sun is approaching Antares, which is a great time to bring in both Antares and Apollo. I'm trying to meditate on Apollo, that is about removing the tyranny of something, and Antares as psychic protection. So, with Apollo, always Roman Kolov comes to mind because he turns ancient coins into talismans. And I remember that he talked about Apollo as removing tyrannical regimes or removing tyranny. And that is a way that I could reconnect with Apollo because he has to do a lot with creativity and so on and so forth. But that one really connected. And then we can think about Antares, which is about, it's opposing Aldebaran. And so there is a certain type of victory when it comes to Antares that has to do with also the spirit, the philosophy, the Jupiterian optimism. If you are benevolent with Antares, you are likely to win because it's about arguing for the benevolent. Now, this is a very interesting thing because Mars right now is ruling over Mercury, Lilith, and Venus. Venus is opposing Uranus, which is an interesting aspect I want to talk about, and it's in 18th degree. And there can be a toxic argument in the sky regarding the beliefs of how does one win or how does one even climb up the ladder. This is because Saturn, the climbing up the ladder planet, is in Jupiter's sign. And there is there can be this toxic argument about the way of winning something or the way of moving forward. But with Antares, it can be a place where there is competition. And oh, amazing, amazing. And Mercury got direct and our phone got correct. So Ascendant Antares, victory. And it rules over, no, yes, it's ruling over Mars, it's ruling over Mercury, but it's not the thing about it. Now, I was talking about raw astrocartography line reading for people that can't afford to travel. And not only that, I was talking about the fact that the Rahu line, of course, it will be a place that somebody can't travel yet because it's the Rahu line. So, now, here's the thing. With Venus opposing Uranus, there is a sudden big move, which I predicted to be, okay? A sudden big move. Venus is ruling over Uranus, and yet she's making a big move to transform something. And Venus is on my lot of divination. So my prediction for me was that I would need to accumulate wealth to buy the freedom of enslaved people. And this is why the people that wanted to access, let's say, the where I'm going thread and to tweak it into something that's not benefic had to back off. And it's also why my strategy will always be different, because not just because it is mine, but because when I'm launching a product, there has been a significant amount of thought behind it, even if it looked like it popped out of nowhere. When I launched Spirit of Matter as the podcast, I knew that there are the people who already go to conferences. They're the famous people that end up in astrology podcasts. And then there are the people that might not even give their first talk. I did not predict to be interviewing the rising stars after rising stars, whether it's Threads of Fate that now is having a podcast, that the entire podcast is like a series of talismans. Um, Absolutely magnificent work, or someone who will become the head of some sort of astrology organization. Okay, Cameroon, or my very first interview with somebody that came from India and was such a big expert on things that I was like, wait a second, I thought I'm giving chance to people that are just getting by in astrology, not not spotting the talents that will shape the century or something. And so, well, things just happen. When I launched my first line of readings, that at that time I was sorting out my credit score issues, so I couldn't even receive payment in a way that will go to me. And this was why the product was designed to have readings that are not where the payment would not be for me, but to the teachers I learned astrology from, even if by methods of self-study, so to speak, as to watch the videos of people where I couldn't purchase back then their product. And then I had a launching product where people would get the reading from me, but they will give the donation or the payment to the people that I learned from, which is a way to honor my teachers and not have them worried about losing money because there's another person around that didn't go through the road of certification because I took a break from academia because of the trafficking cult and wealth consolidation done on dead bodies of children, that people would have to sway their look and not talk about it, not look at it, and so on and so forth. That led the path to me being the astrologer that talks about MK often, and tackles those issues of discernment, to yes address the dark things that are done by the occult, and also the way occult can be used benevolently without taking life energy out of people, but actually by connecting to the innate life energy and manifesting and materializing. um, so absolutely, I'm an unusual bird in the crowd. I'm not the only unusual bird in the crowd. My teacher that I learned from, Chris Brennan, was unionizing against studying what he now teaches, this Hellenistic astrology, and so that in the Kepler school, he wanted to make a petition. Why do they have to learn that type of astrology? Now that's his biggest business, at least of the ones that are visible. Lada Duncheva came from Bulgaria, and she bridges being a Christian and being an astrologer, which was thought out to be a contradiction. Of course, their students will be unusual. Okay? When I began to do astrological magic inspired by people like Caitlin Koppak, um, I ran into the fact that I'm a night chart, which means that okay, which means that that changes, and the other things that affect and change the way I would do certain things or connect with certain things that don't go by the traditional route. Um, and of course, each step like that shakes up the foundations of those who thought to build something without tending to abolishing wealth consolidation on dead bodies, on buried alive children, trafficking slavery, and so on and so forth. It doesn't mean that they don't tend to these issues. It means that the person that does has everything different. It doesn't go with the boxes because the boxes are about to be purged anyway. And astrology is about predicting, being predictive of certain things into the future. Now, Venus here opposing Uranus is from the anaretic degree of Scorpio and Taurus, is where the ruler of Uranus is opposing Uranus in Scorpio, and there is a big move towards freedom, desire to transform toxicity into something that is giving freedom, peace, and the moon was just crossing the world degree. It's ruled by that area. It's on a worldly scale. There can be a particular sensitivity for people whenever an Aries archetype comes to the forefront. And yeah, this moon is still trining Venus. Okay? Venus has the value of transmutation at the end of Scorpio to transmute the toxicity and the trauma into something that is a big move towards freedom. Particularly moving away from where there was a lack of sexual sovereignty. And it opens up the conversation so everybody has to deal with that. Okay, people talk about they were victims of this, victim of that. Okay, those are the survivors. Most of them died. How do we do something so that more people can actually get out of violence? People have been working on their projects and their series and their this and their that and launching it. Like, fine, but most people don't have money to travel. Are people supposed to just be trafficked or trafficked or trafficked or trafficked or trafficked? What happens if they go out of that loop? Everybody's mad. Everybody's pissed. Because the entire global market is in upheaval. Who owns Etsy? Vanguard and BlackRock. Aren't they supposed to be rivals? Who is the rival of them? Well, the Schwabs. Don't we have like another economy? How do you get certification in any occupation? Uh, Complying with a genocide, actively performing a genocide, depending on what degree you. What happens to those that don't? Hardly anybody live to tell. And now everybody's mad because because this um, entrepreneurship move. There's a big move happening in the sky right now. Is not going with that which complied with those things that brought the person to come up with a different idea. Nobody trusts authority right now, and rightfully so. So nothing that comes with authority is being widely accepted. Good morning. Pluto has Aquarius. Saturn is about to meet Neptune on a global level. Mars is the action, the way. To accept the authority of who? Of the lineages that had to bury babies alive to get a home. We don't judge what they had to do, but if we don't want to be the same, we need to do things differently. Of course, necessity is the mother of invention. And of course, those that, and here's the thing, it's not that the people that gatekeep don't have wisdom or can't see. There are good things, and this is the thing with Saturn, it's going to ingress to Mars sign. Saturn has something to say, and yet Saturn has to deal with the head of the baby. Hey, Saturn, where was the head of the baby in your time? They can't say it. Buried alive on the soil where they build the real estate of their shrine lodge project, where they are initiating people. It doesn't mean that the things that they have to say, that not some of them are true, but we can't depend the certification Saturn paperwork on those that consolidate the wealth on dead babies buried alive on real estates of something that's supposed to heal Neptune. The world degree. And the world will have to accommodate with that megalithic world degree innovation. A nation that makes its wealth by torturing and selling slaves and extorting is not and will never be a sovereign nation. It's those diplomatic Venus at the 29 opposing Uranus is it's those type of diplomatic relation consolidation that is being upturned from the core. Why do the Soviets and the commies and the liberals and the red pill and the white pill all sit in the same committees that consolidate wealth on child sex trafficking and torture, creating mind-controlled slaves, but nobody can talk about it because that needs to be kept at the pseudoscience level. How does that affect academic structure, sciences, medicine, the body-mind? Is necessary. The sovereignty is necessary to heal. The ability to work and make a living. Who are the people that can receive today consultation to what country is safe to be at? Which I already addressed the actual reality check on that. And that I am experienced with. And I told my story. And I got, if I was a crook, I could make a shit ton of money. I could make money buying a house for the amount of people that wanted to know if it's safer to live here or there on the onset of 7th of October. I don't lie to people. I don't risk their lives. I could turn them to people that may have other knowledge of what another planet could be accentuated, but I do tell the risk. Who are the people that have money to travel somewhere else where is the money coming from in this economy? What about the people that can't yet go to where they're supposed to be? Oh, maybe that's the Rahu line. Maybe tending to it is materializing what they're going to do and be in this life, which no one, absolutely no one, has a take on except for them. What if there are small steps that those people can do? Oh, but that would take them out of being trafficked. That makes them less susceptible to be depopulated. Oh, but those people can't pay me money, so I'll do it as charity reading. When they can, I can have dividends. When they can't, at least they are connected with a sense of meaning and purpose in this life. Because when I give astrology readings and the whole world is like, well, why don't you at least charge for that? Oh, but you didn't go through the process of certification. Da, 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 da. Uh, what would that entail? What would that entail? What happens if I would argue with my teacher? Did that mean no certification, not allowed to do astrology? When Caitlin Koppak turned talismans into body butters, the entire world went crazy. Everybody thought, by the way, including her husband, world renowned astrologer. It's not gonna work. But it did. But it's true, that's what the thought was in the beginning. It's not gonna work. What turn it into butter for the But what happens when you can melt one butter into another? Oh, you can get talismans of the birth chart of the world. You can get talismans that unite this and that planetary series. Oh, maybe you can pinpoint that with a certain planetary election. Yes, but what if that planetary election is not existing at a certain time? You can make series of series. Oh, what about MK Often? Wait a second, there is another Israeli astrologer. There's half Dutch. What do they talk about? Um, Aleister Crowley as the occult of the intelligence that are they Mossad? No, they actually didn't comply with the. They're not into the. They're not with the Epsteins. How are they even? Don't ask. Don't ask. Don't ask. We don't know. But as long as they are alive, that's fucking interesting. Now, the people that want to be the benefactors of the changing world have to accommodate for people doing certain things in their own unique ways, particularly entrepreneurship. And if they don't believe me, Saturn Neptune is going to convince them. What happens when we don't accommodate for the Shirleys and the Ladas and what happens? Social credit score, social credit score. Yes, your business too. But I said nobody cares how many buried alive infants your family sacrificed. They're like, now it's global. These are the rules. Take it from a Dutch person. When they say these are the rules, they mean it. So if people are gonna do nothing, and here is the thing, then come all these Shirleys that come up with all those weird things, like they derive things from traditional astrology in a way that is the most untraditional. Doing a beta per se talismans to abolish the type of ritual sacrifice that was done also on the altars of beta per se. And yet, if the world doesn't accommodate, then they're left with what? With all the things that arise when we don't accommodate for life and for the living, which is also livelihood. So when people have no money to travel and the government decides who travels where and how, it means astrocartographers are out of business? Or maybe there's another road. Now, this is going to be relevant in long line of entrepreneurships. We can't talk about private equity when the entire world is divided between, and fortunately that's available on Google. Look at the wonders of AI. BlackRock, Vanguard's, State Street Global Advisors, Fidelity Investment, and Charles Schwab. And they manage asset management EFTs and mutual funds, assets on, and basically that's the private equity of the world. How is that private? Now, I don't have the answers as to what is better or what is, but definitely we see that if those all agree and the world is still not free of child trafficking, slavery, or and all these things, then these guys kind of losing the mandate of the heaven. Saturn, Neptune world agree. Hiding under a different name, Neptune Mars, is not going to do the deed. Saturn, Neptune Mars. By the way, the big in astrology, the big three are ascendant, midheaven, and sun. Okay, or sun, moon, and ascendant. But the big trees here are BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street Global Advisors. And here is the first gatekeep, deciding who can be an advisor. If there is not buried baby in the soil, you cannot be an advisor. That's the praxis of it. That's what's underneath the paperwork. They want it so that one would not be able to be a citizen in the world without this. That everybody will have to do what Annika Lucas ran away from, what Sven Scholl ran away from. It's the last episode in the Annika Lucas podcast. Those who are wondering about independent news company, I would put some money in Annika Lucas podcast. That's the best news resources. When you hear that, you can read every single article and get it to the level of which babies had to sacrifice which babies, buried alive in the soil under that so-called agreement. And why that doesn't yield has to do with just that. Because if they have to cover it up, they have to cover the science that shows that this is a thing. They have to wonder about, is it real or not, AI? They have to trade at the philosophy, ritual routes of religion. Oh, this probably happens to somebody because they did something bad in past life. Really? Even Hitler doesn't deserve to be born as a baby and buried alive today. Not even the people that funded him, other than we, the people that gave the order and produced Hitler. Not even they deserve to be born and buried alive today. I think that sets the question. And if you think that the newborn is deserving to die buried alive and justified by whatever soul you assume they had, somebody might think that you in this life are entitled to some karma. That's what I'm saying. Now, of course, the underdogs or the astrologers, those that, what is an astrologer? It's a person that sensed energy. They couldn't wake up in the morning to work, but they found out that some other things they can do. Oh, wait a second, but to that work they can wake up. What is going on here? Are they just being lazy? Well, if they're just being lazy, why do they work the soil so hard? That's not an attribute of a lazy person. Maybe they're meant to work here and not there. But that's very interesting. Is there somebody meant to take out the trash? Well, you'd be surprised. There are people that really love looking into the piles of dirt and seeing if there is some gold in it. Those are the Plutonian people. What if a cleaning company had, they're always this hard to deal with jobs that nobody wants to do, is that it's the stains that don't come off. What if there was somebody that loves taking out those particular stains, but absolutely cannot deal with the usual cleaning stuff? How do we predict that? Well, some people go to, in design, human design, I don't know. Some people go to, all of these are dogmas. They're all, and when it comes to people think Uranus at the fifth house, probably person will not have children, or maybe IVF children. Some people have children with Uranus in the fifth. Hey, there are many things that we learn, and then we learn the C factor of, or we don't even learn the C factor of, we learn, hey, that thing happened differently to what we thought. Scientific innovation never happens within tradition, but only countering to tradition. In fact, the new eyes looking at an old problem are quite important. How are we going to have people question about the body mind question, where all of these people that are questioning were cloned in a particular way, went through training that includes rape in a particular way, that causes this basically separation and dissociation, that the grounding of requiring looking at the material. But then if they have access to their floaters, they would say that there is a division between spirit and matter, or some non-dual relation between them. If they're grounding, they're going to say it's only the material and nothing means anything. If they're just dissociating, they're going to be in this dimension and that dimension, and the world is in the spirit but not in the matter. And nobody will talk about the fact that they were trained in some Heidelberg factory for, torturing sex slaves for the elite, because they can't say it. Of course, it affects the body mind question and the derived medicines. And it also changes what would people value. Scorpio is about, tropical Scorpio is about the purging of, the elimination of. What do we need to eliminate to answer the value-based question? Well, if we eliminate trauma, ritual abuse, slavery, rape, then we can know our authentic Scorpio values Venus.